What kind of person demands silence in a park where dogs play freely? Karen Miller, with her sharp tongue and unyielding glare, stormed into Willow Creek Park that crisp autumn morning, her oversized purse swinging like a weapon. She didn't just walk. She marched, her sneakers pounding the gravel path as if the ground itself owed her something. The park was alive with the usual symphony: children laughing, dogs barking, leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. But to Karen, it was chaos, an affront to her carefully curated sense of order. She stopped dead center, hands on hips, and bellowed, "Whose mutts are making this racket? This is a public space, not a zoo." Her voice sliced through the air, startling a nearby golden retriever, who let out a confused yelp. Heads turned, eyes narrowed. The park, a haven for the tight-knit Willow Creek community, was about to become a battleground. Sophie Nguyen, a soft-spoken barista who lived 2 blocks away, tightened her grip on her dog Luna's leash. Luna, a scrappy terrier mix, had been happily chasing a tennis ball moments before. Sophie's heart sank as Karen's gaze locked onto her. She wasn't one for confrontation, but something about Karen's tone, entitled, venomous, lit a spark in her chest. "They're just dogs being dogs," Sophie said, her voice steady but quiet. Karen scoffed, her face twisting into a mask of disdain. "Just dogs? They're a nuisance. I'm trying to enjoy my walk, and all I hear is yapping. You people need to control your animals." The "you people" hung heavy, a barb aimed not just at Sophie but at everyone within earshot. A few others: Mark, a retired teacher with his aging beagle, and Lila, a college student with her rescue pup, exchanged glances. They'd all seen Karen before, always complaining about something. Kids on skateboards, music from picnics, even the way leaves fell on her pristine lawn. But this was different. This was an attack on their sanctuary. Sophie took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. She wasn't alone in her frustration. Mark stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Karen, this is a dog-friendly park. It's posted on every sign. If you don't like it, maybe find another place to walk." The words were polite but pointed, and Karen's eyes widened as if she'd been slapped. "Excuse me? I have every right to be here. I pay taxes," she snapped, her voice climbing an octave. Lila, usually shy, found herself nodding in agreement with Mark. "We all do," she muttered, loud enough for Karen to hear. The air crackled with tension, a standoff forming under the golden autumn sun. Karen's face reddened, her lips pursing as she realized she wasn't winning this round. But she wasn't done, not by a long shot. The truth about Karen began to unravel in whispers among the park-goers. She wasn't just a grump. She was a serial complainer, notorious for calling animal control over minor barks, reporting neighbors for petty infractions like unmowed grass, and even suing a local bakery for excessive delivery truck noise. Sophie, who worked at that very bakery, remembered the incident vividly. Karen had stormed in, demanding the manager fire the driver for idling too long. When she didn't get her way, she'd filed a formal complaint with the city. It hadn't worked, but it left a bitter taste in everyone's mouth. Now, here she was, turning her wrath on the dogs that brought joy to Willow Creek. Sophie felt a surge of defiance. She wasn't going to let Karen bully her or anyone else. "You don't get to dictate what happens here," she said, louder this time, her voice carrying over the soft barking of Luna. Karen's jaw dropped, but before she could retort, a small crowd began to gather, drawn by the commotion. They weren't just curious, they were angry. The confrontation escalated as more voices joined in. Mark, usually reserved, recounted how Karen had once called the police on his beagle for disturbing the peace during a 10-second bark. Lila shared how Karen had left nasty notes on her car for parking too close to her driveway. The stories poured out, each one a thread in a tapestry of resentment. Karen, sensing the tide turning, doubled down. "You're all just a bunch of irresponsible pet owners," she shouted, her voice shrill. "I'll have this park shut down if I have to." That was the moment something shifted. Sophie, Mark, and Lila exchanged a look not of fear, but of resolve. They weren't just defending their dogs. They were defending their community. And Karen had just made a fatal mistake. She'd threatened the one place that bound them together. By the next morning, the park was buzzing not with dogs, but with whispers of rebellion. Sophie couldn't sleep after the confrontation, her mind racing with Karen's threat to shut down the park. She'd always been the quiet one, content to blend into the background, but something had snapped inside her. She posted about the incident on the Willow Creek neighborhood app, expecting a few sympathetic comments. Instead, her phone lit up with notifications. Neighbors she'd never met shared their own Karen stories. The time she'd reported a kid's lemonade stand for unpermitted commerce, or when she demanded the city remove a beloved oak tree because it dropped acorns on her sidewalk. The app became a digital town square, each post fueling a growing fire. But then came the twist that no one saw coming, a revelation that turned anger into outrage. Lila, who'd been quietly scrolling through public records for a school project, stumbled across something damning. Karen had been cited multiple times for violating city ordinances herself. Her pristine lawn, maintained with illegal pesticides banned for environmental reasons. Her perfect home, built with unpermitted renovations that skirted safety codes. Lila shared the documents in the app, and the neighborhood erupted. Here was Karen, the self-appointed guardian of rules, breaking them without a second thought. Sophie felt a rush of vindication. This wasn't just about dogs, Anna Maria, it was about hypocrisy, about someone who thought she was above everyone else. The group decided to act. Mark, with his years of community organizing experience, proposed a petition not to ban dogs, but to ban Karen from the park for harassment. It was bold, almost unthinkable, but the idea caught fire. The petition spread like wildfire, signatures piling up faster than anyone expected. Sophie printed copies and went door to door, her shy demeanor replaced by quiet determination. Neighbors who'd never spoken to her opened their doors, eager to sign. "She yelled at my kid for riding a bike too fast," one woman said, pen in hand. "She called my cat a flea-ridden menace," another added. By the end of the week, over 200 signatures filled the pages, each one a testament to Karen's reign of terror. But Sophie knew this was only the beginning. Karen wouldn't go quietly, she never did. The group prepared for a showdown, scheduling a meeting at the community center to present the petition to the city council. The air was thick with anticipation, and Sophie couldn't shake the feeling that Karen was plotting something of her own. The day of the meeting arrived, and the community center was packed. Karen, predictably, showed up in a huff, her purse clutched like a shield. She'd caught wind of the petition and came armed with her own complaints, a stack of photos showing dogs off-leash, a list of noise violations she'd meticulously logged, and a smug smile that said she thought she'd already won. The room tensed as she stood to speak, her voice dripping with condescension. "This park is a disgrace," she began, holding up a photo of Luna mid-bark. "These animals ruin it for everyone. I demand the city enforce a no-dog policy." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sophie's heart pounded, but she stood, petition in hand. "This isn't about the dogs," she said, her voice clear and strong. "It's about you, Karen. You've harassed this community for years, and we're done." She held up the petition, its pages heavy with signatures, and the room erupted in applause. Karen's face contorted, her confidence cracking. She hadn't expected Thesa United Front, a community that refused to be bullied. She stammered, trying to deflect. "You can't ban me. I have rights." But Mark stepped forward, his calm authority silencing her. "You've abused those rights," he said, presenting Lila's findings about Karen's own violations. The council members, visibly stunned, took the documents and promised a review. Karen's bravado crumbled as she realized she was losing control. She stormed out, muttering threats, but the room felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. Sophie looked around at her neighbor strangers turned allies and felt a surge of pride. They weren't just fighting for their park. They were fighting for each other. The fallout was swift and merciless. The city council, after reviewing the petition and Lila's evidence, issued Karen a formal warning: cease her harassment or face a temporary ban from public parks. Her illegal pesticide use and unpermitted renovations were referred to the appropriate agencies, and whispers of fines began to circulate. Karen's carefully constructed image as the neighborhood's moral arbiter shattered. She stopped showing up at the park, her absence as loud as her complaints once were. Neighbors reported seeing her peering from behind her curtains, her face a mix of fury and humiliation. For the first time, Willow Creek felt free not just from Karen, but from the fear she'd instilled. The park buzzed again with barking dogs and laughing children, the sounds no longer a battle cry but a celebration. Sophie walked Luna through the park one evening, the sunset painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. She passed the bench where the confrontation had unfolded, now a symbol of their victory. Mark was there, tossing a ball for his beagle, and Lila sat nearby, sketching the scene. They exchanged smiles, a quiet acknowledgement of what they'd achieved together. But the victory wasn't just about Karen's defeat, it was about what they'd built. The petition had sparked more than signatures. It had forged connections. Neighbors who'd once nodded politely now stopped to chat, sharing stories and treats for their dogs. The neighborhood app, once a place for complaints, became a hub for organizing picnics and cleanup days. Willow Creek wasn't just a place Anna Maria, it was a community, stronger for its scars. Yet Sophie couldn't help but wonder about Karen. She'd heard rumors. Karen was appealing the council's decision, claiming discrimination, but her efforts were faltering. Part of Sophie felt a pang of sympathy. Karen was alone, her anger a wall that kept everyone out. But that sympathy didn't erase the harm she'd caused. Sophie thought back to that first confrontation, how her own fear had given way to courage. She'd found her voice, not just for herself, but for Luna, for her neighbors, for the park that held their memories. The lesson wasn't in Karen's downfall, but in what rose from it. The power of standing together, of refusing to let one person's bitterness dim a community's light. As weeks turned to months, the park became a testament to resilience. A new sign went up, not about rules, but about unity. Willow Creek Park, where we bark, laugh, and grow together. It was cheesy, but it fit. Sophie, Mark, and Lila took turns hosting dog playdates, and the petition became a legend, a story told with laughter over coffee. Karen's name faded, a cautionary tale rather than a threat. Sophie learned to speak up, not just in the park but at work, in her life. She realized courage wasn't the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. The park, with its barking dogs and rustling leaves, was more than a place. It was a reminder that even the loudest voices could be drowned out by a community that refused to stay silent. And as Luna bounded after her tennis ball, Sophie smiled, knowing they'd all found something worth fighting for.